Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome to your second stimulus check update, and stimulus package update, and stimulus news report for late Monday, October 26th. Right now, we have the Senate on track to confirm Amy Coney Barrett as the 9th Supreme Court Justice sometime later on tonight. So that's good. That will be out of the way. We also have California Governor Gavin Newsom telling residents how they should be celebrating and spending Thanksgiving with their families. And we have some news regarding an update from Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin and what they are currently going through in the stimulus negotiation. So we will address all of that right now. But first, before I get into that, if you didn't get a chance to see my video that I did earlier today, I outline a simple way that if there's no stimulus, you can still make money. It's a very simple way to make money, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So if you haven't got a chance to watch that video, I will link to it down in the description box below. I will also link to it somewhere right up here so that you can go and watch it. I highly recommend it. Now, this afternoon, Nancy Pelosi's spokesperson Drew Hamill said that the two negotiators spoke by phone for about 52 minutes. And the main takeaway from this entire conversation was that the meeting that the two had is they are both waiting for the Trump administration to accept or alter the health language from Nancy Pelosi's HEROES Act. That is pretty much what the talk was about. Is, well, do we have an agreement? Yes, no, maybe, we're still waiting. And really what they're waiting on is not President Trump, is not Steven Mnuchin. What they are waiting on is they are waiting on the committee chairs to come back to them. So as of right now, Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin do not know what is really being discussed, what concessions are being made, how they are going to really work and move forward in the stimulus negotiations, because it's not them that are making the concessions. Right now, they have delegated that task to the committee chairs. We also know, because Drew Hamill went on to state, that this language includes a national plan for testing and tracing. We knew that, but it's good that he just reiterated it so we know exactly what he's talking about. Drew Hamill stated that both parties are currently just awaiting the talks or the outcomes of the talks between the committee chairs. So what this means right now is that Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin have given that responsibility and that task to other people and let them decide how we move forward. Because what I can tell you based on the reports that I'm reading is Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin pretty much came to another impasse. And instead of telling the American people, instead of telling Democrats and Republicans and the Trump administration and just the public in general that, well, we couldn't come to an agreement again, they decided, let's delegate this task to another group of people, the committee chairs, and let's see if they can bring it any closer together. So that's what we know right now. Also, right now, there are a handful of reports that are indicating that the committee chairs are getting closer in regards to a compromises and a comprehensive stimulus package. However, these compromises are coming at a cost. Let me explain. Here's what's currently happening. I'm going to give you an example. This is just an example, okay? Because as of right now, I have no idea. These reports are not giving us any indication on what they're really referring to, but this is what's happening. Let's say Republicans agree to a $600 per week unemployment benefit, that plus up. Republicans agree, okay, we will agree to $600 per week for unemployment from September 6th through January 31st. That's fine. Okay, Democrats are like, perfect. Let's move on to the next key issue. For instance, the next key issue could be state and local governments, government funding. Again, this is just an example. So Democrats are like, all right, well, we want $400 billion for state and local governments for their funding. And Republicans are like, well, we can't do that. We're going to give you $300 billion. Okay. Democrats are like, well, this is a hard line for us. We have to have $400 billion for this. We're not going to negotiate on this. And Republicans are like, okay, well, if you want $400 billion for state and local government funding, that's fine, but we need to work on the language. And here's the big thing: we do not want to give you $600 per week for the unemployment plus up. We only want to give $400 per week. So even though both parties and the negotiators were moving forward steadily and they're going very fast, what happened is we now got sent backwards because they couldn't agree on the last roadblock. So it means they got to come all the way back and negotiate the whole thing now that they know, okay, this is a hardline number. Democrats do not want to negotiate the state and local government funding. Well, that is currently what's happening right now. And this is the reason why stimulus negotiations are going so slow. They speed up, they slow down, and they go backwards. And this is what we've been getting for the last few weeks. And it's because of this exact issue. And for me personally, I don't see them really coming to an agreement on all the things that are inside the stimulus bill anytime soon. At least before the election, it's not going to happen. Nancy Pelosi was saying just this morning she's optimistic we will have a stimulus package we will have accepted before the election. But here's the thing, that they're still writing the bill. They're still negotiating pieces of legislation. They still have to let the American people see it. They still have to get the House to vote, the Senate to vote, and President Trump to sign it. And they want to do that all within 1 week, 7 days. There's only 5 working days. 5 working days before the election. It's not going to happen before the election. So Nancy Pelosi saying she's optimistic. I'm sick of seeing the word optimistic because right now it's not going to happen. You can be, as optimistic as you want to be, but it's not going to happen. It can't happen. There's not enough time. They couldn't get this done in 6 months. Does she really think they're going to get it done in 5 days? I highly doubt it. So this is what these reports are currently saying, and this is really tough to hear because honestly, the American people need money. They need money now. They can't wait. People are tired of waiting, so why can't they just pass something to get funding and get the relief to the American people? Now, here's the other crazy part, okay? And when I say this is crazy, it is crazy because the Trump administration has said, and this specifically referring to Larry Kudlow, he said that they can't control the pandemic. He said that publicly in an interview. If you haven't seen it, it's here on YouTube. But he said they can't control the pandemic. So for many, this means that if they can't control the pandemic, then they probably won't worry about testing and tracing, right? We can't control it, so we're not going to worry about testing and tracing. There's nothing we can do. All we can do is worry about the treatments, the vaccines. That's what we can do. That's what we can control. And I get it from both standpoints. I get it from Larry Kudlow and the Trump administration. I also understand it from Democrats and Nancy Pelosi's point, is we have to have funding for testing and tracing. If we don't, the virus is just going to spread. And again, whatever virus it is. Now, I just like to stay cautious. I like to protect myself and my family. So I'm just going to go and believe that COVID is an actual thing. Whether it is or it isn't, I don't know. But what I do know is my family and myself are safe. We're fine. So that's how I'm proceeding. But right now, the Trump administration is saying we can only control what we can control, and that is treatments and a vaccine. So that's what they're going to work on. Now, this is going to create a very tough path forward for both negotiators, for Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin, because we know Nancy Pelosi will not move forward with a stimulus bill. She won't go forward at all if, for any reason, whatever reason whatsoever, there is not going to be funding for testing and tracing. There's not going to be the proper language. She has been saying this for weeks. It's not going to happen. So this is a big sticking point. And this is one of the reasons why I personally believe that these little roadblocks are setting us all back, setting everything, we're going backwards in this whole negotiation. This means that the steps to an additional $1,200 stimulus check, to more weekly unemployment benefits, to rental assistance, food assistance, United States Postal Service funding, PPP funding, school funding, airline bailouts, and so much more will be hard to come by as of right now. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it's going to be very difficult, especially before the election. Now, another crazy thing that's happening right now is California's governor, Gavin Newsom, is currently being bashed by residents because he gave his recommendations for celebrating Thanksgiving with your family. Gavin Newsom said Thanksgiving should and only should be celebrated outside with less than 3 different families. That includes the host family and 2 others. That means 3 total families. You celebrate outside. The celebration outside, your families must be at least 3. The 3 families must be at least 6 feet apart. That's both 6 feet from the front, the sides, and the back. Everyone needs to be spread out at least 6 feet. Also, indoor bathroom use is fine as long as the bathroom is being regularly sanitized. Also, families must wear masks while not eating and should still remain 6 feet apart. And his last recommendation is singing, shouting, and any strenuous activities should be strictly avoided. Well, okay. Thank you for that. So anybody in California, let me know your thoughts. Whether you're in California or not, do you feel comfortable with this recommendation? Are you going to abide by this no matter where you live? Whether you live in California, Texas, New York, doesn't matter, okay? Wherever you live. Right now, I understand we are in a time when the infection rate of COVID is increasing. However, we are testing more frequently as well. So that's one thing you just need to understand. More people are being tested, which means the numbers are eventually going to rise, which is exactly what we're seeing. Now, here's the scary thing. Experts say that the United States has been and will continue to be roughly 2 weeks behind Europe going through this entire COVID pandemic, which means that in 2 weeks, because this is what's currently happening in Europe as of today, within 2 weeks, we could see record levels of new cases, which we're already seeing. We could see higher hospitalizations, which we are already seeing. And we could also see more deaths, hopefully not. And possibly modified shutdowns. As of today, Europe is shutting down a lot of different things. For example, Europe is currently limiting restaurant and bar use. They're limiting large gatherings of any kind, and they're also considering multiple countrywide lockdowns if cases continue to surge. That is the last thing we need here in the United States is another lockdown, because I can tell you right now that will drastically hurt the economy and many American families. So that is what we know right now. As always, as I know more, I promise I will share more. I just want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.